Hello, this is Timothy Wood with Citadel Civil Engineering, and this is Statics CIVL202. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the classical model of education as a way of helping you understand where statics falls in your educational journey, as well as introduce myself and give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. Where I want to start is talking about the classical model of education. In the classical model of education, this was a way of thinking about learning that started with the ancient Greeks, and it comes in three phases. So the first phase of the classical model is the grammar phase. In the grammar phase, we learn the basic building blocks of the topic we're trying to learn. So maybe if you've ever heard of an elementary school called a grammar school, it comes from this classical model. If we were thinking about how we learn to read, our first step in learning to read was to learn our alphabet and the sounds the letters made. That represents the basic building blocks of the idea of reading, the grammar phase. Now, within engineering, our grammar phase represents our math and our physics. So there is going to be an expectation within this class that you have taken physics and you've taken some math and you're ready to use those skills. So in terms of mathematical skills, we'll be using a lot of simultaneous equation solving. We'll be doing a fair amount of trig, analyzing triangles, and then also doing a little bit of integration. But again, if you haven't gotten to the integration part yet in Cal 2, I'll be able to walk you through it. It'll be okay. Within physics, we're looking at statics being built primarily on Newton's first and third laws. And so we'll be spending a lot of time talking about the physics component of that. So that's our grammar stage. That's where we start. Now, once we've got those basic building blocks in hand, we're going to then work on being able to compare those building blocks. And that brings us to the dialectic stage. Within the dialectic stage, when we were learning to read, we learned how we could put letters together and make words, or we can learn how to make comparisons between different ideas or different concepts within the field that we're learning. In the case of engineering, that's where we do our engineering analysis. So at the end of the day, our goal is to be able to analyze systems and predict their behaviors so that in the rhetoric stage, we'll be able to do some good design. Statics represents really your first step into that dialectic, that analysis stage, being able to compare and contrast different ideas. Statics is then going to be built upon when we talk about dynamics and mechanics of materials. And so next semester, when you're taking some of those classes, you're going to want to know statics really well so that you can have a great time in your next classes. I will note that sometimes we have this idea that when we take a class, we learn the content, we pass the final exam, and then we tape up all that content in a box inside our brain and pray we never have to use it again. But in your engineering education, that's not going to be an option. The classical model helps us see that. Instead, we're going to be using those skills that we're developing from our math and from our science and from statics in the next phase and in the next class. And so we're going to be building from one step to another. After we've mastered these analytical tools of analysis, dialectic phase, we'll be able to step into the rhetoric phase. And in the rhetoric phase, we're using the analysis that we've done to come up with new ideas. So in reading, we took our grammar phase of our alphabet, we learned to put together words, and now in the rhetoric phase, we're able to use those things to read paragraphs and sentences and get new ideas. In engineering, we're going to take the concepts that we've mastered in statics and in dynamics and mechanics of materials, and we're going to apply that to engineering design. And so if you have the hopes of becoming a structural engineer or a geotechnical engineer, maybe you're a mechanical engineering major and you're interested in manufacturing machines, composites, you're going to have to master the dialectic phase so that you can actually solve problems at the rhetoric phase. So again, we're going to want to master the content today in statics, this class period, or not period, this class in statics, so that next semester we'll be able to learn new tools and then eventually grow in design, because this is a story of growth. We're going somewhere in your educational journey. You're not just taking classes at random, you're in a sequence of classes to give the skills to you that you need to become an excellent engineer. Now, with that in mind, I'd like to share you a little bit of my story. So again, my name is Timothy Wood. You can call me Dr. Wood. That's appropriate within this context. My undergraduate degree was from Texas Tech University. It was in engineering physics with a focus in structures. I went on to get a master's and a PhD in civil engineering. And while there, I spent almost 10 years working on geotechnical related structural engineering transportation problems. And so I represent one of the world's foremost experts on the load rating of reinforced box culverts for the 6 people in the world that care deeply about that topic. Um, you care about it because you drive on roads, and culverts often hold up those roads. But it's okay that you don't know my expert field. That's fine. I love it. It's very exciting. I love civil engineering. My office is in Letellier 307, and if you come by my office and the door is open and I'm there, please step in and talk to me. If I'm talking to another faculty member, feel free to interrupt us. My priority is students. I love being there. My phone number and email is also there, so you can reach me that way. And if you want to make sure that you can find me in my office, the best way to do that is set up an appointment by email. So shoot me an email, we'll find a common time, and I'll make sure I'm available in my office. Or if you're taking this class online, that we can set up a time for a one-on-one Zoom call to make sure that your questions are answered. My wife and I got married in 2006. We have 3 kiddos, Owen, Penny, and Eleanor. We live in the Charleston area. We really love it. We've made some great relationships here. So it's a fantastic thing to be here at the Citadel. Now, one of the things that I want you to be aware of is why I love engineering and teaching engineering. And my motivation for engineering actually comes from Genesis 1. So in Genesis 1, we see this. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. And God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. And when I look at what a civil engineer does, it's about fulfilling that creation command. It's allowing humanity to fill the earth and subdue it. And arguably, no part of creation is more subdued than the concrete parking lot. And so, all joking aside, civil engineers have the privilege of serving all of society. We provide clean water, we clean wastewater, we provide shelter, transportation, a whole host of needs for all of society. And that's what I really love about civil engineering is the ability to fulfill this particular command. Additionally, I love teaching at the Citadel because here my focus gets to be students. I am so excited to be your professor, to walk you through this journey of learning statics. I love statics, and I hope by the end of this class, you will love statics. And if not, I hope at least you are good at statics. And so I want to build that confidence in you. If you have questions or concerns or comments, I am happy to take time to make sure that those things are resolved and answered. And so please reach out to me during office hours and let me know how I can serve you as your professor. That's my goal. Now, this as part of our class, I'd like you to respond to this video by telling me a little bit about yourself. So in the discussion board, please go through and tell me a little bit about your story. I know roughly where you are in your story of growth when it comes to engineering and developing as an engineer, but I want to know more about you. So the 3 pieces of information I want to hear about is the name you want to go by. Maybe you go by a nickname or a middle name. Please let me know what you'd like me to call you. Like I said, you can call me Dr. Wood, just as an answer to that question. I'd like to know what your major is. My guess is that we have a bit of diversity between civils and constructions, mechanicals, electricals. Maybe you're doing something else and you're taking statics for fun. Fantastic. Let me know what major you are. And then I'd like to know your motivation for studying statics, as well as for hopefully training to be an engineer as well. Again, my motivation is to fulfill this command to fill the earth and subdue it. And I'd love to hear why you want to become an engineer. With that in mind, I look forward to seeing you in our first class. I'm sure you've got a couple of videos you should also watch as well. And I look forward to a great semester together. We'll see you then.